France. For many of us, that means sightseeing, shopping and gourmet cuisine. But if you step off of the beaten track and head into the country, you'll discover a wild side of France waiting to be discovered. I really love France. It's a naturalist's dream. And the reason for that is all the different habitats that you find here. In this series, I'm going to explore them in search of the many hidden wonders that there are to be found in wild France. I'll be travelling through some of the most spectacular regions of France. From the snow-capped mountains to the rolling plains. From deep forests to arid Mediterranean scrublands. I'll be exploring the unique plants and wildlife that thrive in this unspoilt wilderness. And the secrets that are hidden deep within it. That's amazing. On my adventure through wild France. This is Provence. It's an area well known to the British. We think of it as a place of lavender fields and beautiful, quaint villages, but it's much more than that. Provence lies in the south of France. I'm in the Luberon National Park, right in the heart of the region, home to a typical Mediterranean landscape. From a naturalist perspective, this is one of the most exciting regions of France. You find 30% of France's biodiversity in this area. An arid place, and one that I simply can't wait to explore. It's a dry landscape, and yet its appearance changes at every turn. Almost like being in 3 countries at once. And that's what I'm here to experience today. Everywhere you go in this region, you notice this green scrubland that has adapted to survive the high temperatures of the summer and the long periods of drought. This is the Garrigue forest that you find on top of Provence, and the alkaline soil is ideal growing conditions for all the plants around me. And it's the great drawback of television that you can't smell this landscape. But let me tell you, it's incredibly aromatic. Around me, I'm surrounded by plants giving off scents like the box, and there's thyme and rosemary. Look at this wild rosemary growing here. And the scents in these plants are intensified by the warm Mediterranean climate. When you smell this, whoa, bring me some lamb to cook with it. You know, it's amazing. It's like one giant herb garden. And the aromatic chemicals that these plants give off act as a deterrent to each other. They help define the territory that each plant occupies. And so you get this wonderful rock garden effect where you can easily move between the plants. It's amazing. I'm beginning my exploration of this area with a steep trek up into the hills in search of an extremely rare bird that I've been told is living here. And this is a very secret location. In fact, we've been asked to disguise in our imagery exactly where we are. And what I'm looking at is the nest of a Bonelli eagle. It's a magnificent bird. And it's a bird that has been in decline in France because of the way the land has been used, a combination of factors. Overgrazing, the arrival of myxomatosis has led to a decline over years of the rabbit population and of the partridge, which were key prey species for this particular eagle. Today, efforts are being made to change that by improving the agricultural practice to increase the population of partridge and of rabbits. They're not reintroducing the bird, they're just creating favourable conditions so that birds that pass by might choose to stay and nest, which is exactly what's happening here. Bonelli nests are usually built on cliff faces, although some have been found high up on electricity pylons and tall trees. The birds mate for life but only produce 1 or 2 offspring at a time. It's thought that there are 2 youngsters in a nest here. This time of year is when the young leave the nest, and at the moment I can see no movement on the nest, but the cave is quite deep, so it could be that the chick is further in, or it might already have left. Difficult to say, but right now it's one of those frustrating moments. In the right place, come a long way to be here, no bird. So it's just a matter of sitting patiently and waiting. The eagle chicks will remain in or near the nest for up to 2 months and are fed by both parents on a diet of small live mammals and birds. And during the summer months, lizards are also hunted. With no movement in the cave, it appears that these chicks may have left already. But just as I'm thinking about giving up... I see it. Oh, look at that. That's wonderful. Right above the nest, out in the open on a ledge, is the juvenile bird. What a great sight. It's come out of the nest and it's making its way out into the world. How exciting. They always look like they've got baggy trousers on. Eagles have such amazing posture. Their wings, very regal. They've quite a small head, so it makes the chest look large. Magnificent bird. I wonder what's going through the mind of that young bird. It's left the nest, it's up there on a ledge, posturing as only an eagle should, observing the world, beginning its great adventure of life. And what things will it see? Eagles have this amazing ability to soar. I just wish you could do that. Looking straight at me. Wonderful sight. Gosh, that's a glorious bird. When the young birds finally leave their parents' nest, they will move several kilometres away to avoid competing for food. Now the chick's just hopped up onto a higher ledge. It's gone into the shade. Well, I can't blame it. It's a very hot day. And I am quite frankly cooking here. So I'm going to do just the same. I'm going to give myself some cover too from the sun with a waterproof jacket. Just try to arrange a bit more shade. I look away for a second, but as soon as I look up, it gets even better. Here comes the adult. Got it in the scope. Wonderful. Look at that, the soaring sight. Lovely, look at that. And there you see the white and black markings underneath. And that very distinctive white blaze just below the shoulders of the bird's back. Delicately fingered wingtips, very distinctive of the Bonelli eagle. And that straight edge to the lower edge of the wing. Wonderful. Oh, that's really good. For that bird to thrive here, it means that everything else further down the food chain has to be right. And that is a bright future for a beautiful part of France, and a brighter future for one of the most magnificent denizens of the skies. It's exciting watching eagles. I could stay here all day, but there is so much more to see as I continue my journey through Provence. This is Provence in the south of France. It's the hottest region in the country, receiving nearly 3,000 hours of sunshine a year. The Mediterranean climate has allowed this iconic plant to thrive here. This really is the picture postcard view of Provence, these incredible, beautiful lavender fields full of insects and the buzzing of bees. The Romans were the first to recognize lavender's cosmetic benefits, using it to perfume their baths. And that's where the name comes from, the Latin word lavar, meaning to wash. The scent you get from lavender flowers is incredibly pungent. It's so strong you only have to run your fingers through it to receive that lovely aroma. But if you try to smell it a second time straight afterwards, it's much weaker. In fact, sometimes you can't smell it at all. And that's because the molecules in it interfere with our olfactory sense. It's also the reason that people who like lavender scent sometimes use too much by mistake. They apply it, can no longer smell it, and reapply it, not realizing it's already on. The fragrant Provençal air attracts many insects, including the peculiar-looking praying mantis. It may be small, but it's a formidable predator. Using its arms like razor blades, it could feast on prey 3 times its size. And that's not the only unusual animal here. As I head further down the valley, there's an extraordinary surprise waiting for me, straight from the pages of prehistory. I really like to look at the ground to see what animals have been moving around. And I can see here the very distinct tracks of a rhinoceros, obviously a different species to those that we can follow today. You can brush out some of the accumulated detritus that's filling the track there, but you can see here's the rear pad and here are the side toes there, and this is the nail, the large central toe just there. They're really clear. I mean, that's fascinating to see tracks from 30 million years ago. Millions of years ago, this limestone rock was actually mud situated on the edge of a large, shallow lake. Animals wandering through the mud left footprints that were baked hard in the sun. When the terrain flooded, the prints were covered with sediment again, preserving them perfectly. There are tracks all over the place. There are quite a lot of antelope-like tracks. There are some with very long dew claws showing, moving across the slope. This prehistoric site would be sealed off in the UK, but here in France you can just stumble across discoveries like this. And it's what makes walking through this landscape such a joy. And it's a reminder of just how much the Provençal landscape has changed through time. Today, it's hard to imagine mud here in such an arid place. This incredible landscape reminds me of places in Utah. It feels like one of the high American desert landscapes, but it's not at all natural. This is actually the remains of a quarry. And what people will quarry is this stained earth that you see here. It's ochre. It's actually a very fine clay holding together particles of sand. These mines date back to the 1870s, when demand for ochre was fueled by the French Impressionists. But it has been used since prehistoric times to paint some of France's most famous cave paintings. If you want to make ochre, you need granite, the right climate, a very slow flow of water, a slowly evaporating sea, and later on acidic conditions created by a large mangrove swamp where the leaves dissolve to cause acidic conditions. All of that, and you let it cook for about 150 million years. And you might end up with this, what a local expert described to me as meringue topped with strawberry cream. A very French opinion of the landscape. I'm meeting David Chalier, a local geologist, He's going to show me how they use the small amount of rain that falls here to extract the ochre pigment from the clay.
So, this is the rock we can crush.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
It's quite easy to do. You will have water and shake it to mix and to extract ochres from the sands. You let it settle down and you have the pure ochre, really. So it takes one complete year to extract the ochre.
A year?
A year, yeah. Because you wash when you have water. As you know, we are in Provence and you don't have water all the year.
So it takes a year because you have water in the winter and the spring.
Yes.
Use that to wash the sand out of the ochre.
Yes.
Let it settle.
Yes.
And then you leave it through the summer to evaporate.
Yes.
Until it's hard. So this is the sand.
This is the sand.
And this is the water with ochre in suspension.
Exactly.
The ochre here may no longer be mined, but this vibrant colour will remain a part of the rich landscape for years to come. As the sun starts to set here, it's the perfect time to settle down and look for an animal I've been searching for all the way across France. I've come out to this field with the hope of spotting wild boar all the way around the edge of this field, including here in front of me. There's the sign where boar have been rooting around. It's the perfect place to sit and watch. First thing is I'm going to set up my scope so it's a comfortable height, and then I'll set up the net to suit it. This is a good vantage point. I can see across the field. I can see down to the right and down to the left, and I'm still tucked into the shadows. As the air cools, which I don't think it will very much today, but if it were to cool, cold air running down will run down into the valley, and so the other side of that dip, there shouldn't be any scent from me reaching any boar that come out. I keep an elastic band on here so that I can anchor that, like so. And to be honest, this is a lot more camouflage than you really need to watch wild boar, but with the camera crew behind me, it shouldn't be too big a problem. Perfect. It's just a case of sitting and waiting. The heat could work against me. It might be that they won't come out until way into darkness, but I'm going to take a chance. As the day turns to dusk, my patience is finally rewarded. Sanglier. See the young sow there, and piglets. That's a lovely sight. 3 little tails, like little dodgem calves, sticking up above the grass. And in boars, it's a matriarchal society. It's the sows that are in charge, and they even share responsibility for the weaning of the piglets. So here are some more boars coming across the field from the right there. Great to see. Very charismatic animal. When the piglets are born, they have these incredible stripy spots on their bodies. They're a wonderful camouflage for their protection. As they mature, they start to lose those. One of them still has the spots, and the other two, well, they've already quite faded now. The females of the group, sows, live together with their young, whilst the males live a solitary life, except during the breeding season. At dusk, the animals come into clearings like these to dig in the ground for roots and bulbs using their long rubbery snouts. They're omnivorous, which means they'll eat just about anything.
Now, a lot of people are scared of wild boar. You hear stories of how dangerous they are, and of course, they have the capacity to cause injury because they have these tusks that are very, very sharp. But really, they're shy, retiring animals. They don't want confrontation. The problems come with wounded animals, essentially, after hunting. That's a whole different ballgame, and you can understand why. It's all to do with fear. But mostly going about their everyday life, they disappear and you don't see them unless you take the time to come and look for them. And only if you were to get too close to the piglets might a sow warn you off. But other than that, they're really not a great threat.
As the day draws to a close, so too does my time in Provence.
It's great to watch. The temptation in France, of course, when the sun comes down on a hot day, is to look for a little bistro to enjoy some French gastronomy. But actually, I can't think of anything better to do than to come out on the edge of a field and watch the wild boar.
Next time, I'll be travelling north to the rugged coastline of Brittany, where I'll be heading out to sea.
Well, Robert's caught red-handed and Nick's feeling smug as we head back to Coronation Street next. Then it's the final episode of Brief Encounters and the ladies are in for a shock. That's here at 9.